And are you hearing me? Just so that, oh, good. I'm ready whenever you guys are. Okay. Welcome everybody to the Thursday, November 19th, 2020 meeting of the Humboldt County Planning Commission. As usual, in accordance with Executive Order N-29-20, the Planning Commission is meeting virtually. If you have any questions or concerns about this, go to the county website and look up under the Planning Commission. It'll give you directions on how to join us either by phone or on the computer with Zoom. With that, I'll call the meeting to order and ask you to join me in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll ask for a roll call on commissioners present. I can hear you, but no. I see Mike nodding his head no, so give us a second. We're not getting audio from the secretary. We want to try it a different way, just. Okay.
I'll raise my hand. All right, thank you, everybody. We'll start with Commissioner Bongio.
Present.
Commissioner Pellegrini.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Levy. Okay. Commissioner Newman.
Here.
And Commissioner O'Neill.
Here.
And Commissioner Mitchell.
Present.
Thank you. And Commissioner McCaver.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Any agenda modifications, Director?
Yes. There are several supplementals. There's a supplemental for item E1, the 569 Huckleberry Lane. Actually, there's two supplementals for that. There is a supplemental for item E2, in the Dinsmore Mad River area. This is Mad River Horticulture. There is a supplemental for item for the McKinleyville Community Service District Habitat Restoration Public Access permit. And then I'd like to call your attention to the last item on the agenda, which is the Rolling Meadows LLC. And the recommendation is to continue that to September 17th, 2020. And so we would like to have that continued to a date uncertain.
There are also, and I apologize for this, Director, I don't believe we provided a supplemental, but there was a request by the applicant to continue item E4 to the December 17th Planning Commission agenda. That's the Ancient Truth conditional use permit.
Okay.
What was the date?
December 17th.
Thank you. Okay. Is that it?
That is
All right. So with that, we'll move on to the public comment section. This is where anybody can speak about anything they want to that is not on tonight's agenda. So I will open it up. Let's see, we have one attendee, and that's public 7454. I recognize this. Are you there? 7454, are you there? You have to unmute. There you go.
It says I'm unmuted. Tried a couple times here, Alan. How you doing today? Ken Sawatsky. I'm back from Mexico. Last time I came back from Mexico, I went to the supervisor chambers and I informed them. What was it? Oh, you're in hell and I'm the devil. Well, you get the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try and help you people, all of you. I want to rate people, for starters, who are environmentalists and who are faux environmentalists. And I'm going to go ahead and make the statement that Peggy is a direct environmentalist. And the other person I see as being an environmentalist is our chairperson here, Alan Bongio. We have a bunch of faux environmentalists who kind of act like they are. And I'm not going to name their names this meeting. They'll come out at another meeting. But I wish all of you would do something for me. Mother Nature has a little test for you. Go to your sacred place in the environment. I don't know, somewhere in the woods, on the beach, riding your motorcycle, up behind my father-in-law's house where Earl Bean had a sacred place up there, and sit in the middle of your sacred place, and then imagine you're all alone in your solitude. Imagine just like somebody who is 60, 70, 80 years old has their sacred place where their family comes, and look out and go ahead and look out and see plastic, have people's dogs, have people threatening them. You're in Mother Nature's sacred place, and yet this commission has enabled those people to come in and ruin all the sacred places. And I'm going to be quite direct. It really irritates me when we have projects like Odessa goes through, and that's not done yet. I just thought I'd let you guys know there was an appeal, but those kind of projects in a critical watershed with no services, you folks basically, in my opinion, should, and the supervisor should not be allowing any development, commercial development, where you don't have first responders. You're just asking for trouble. For the staff to go ahead and allow someone to fill out a piece of paper. So let's pretend Mattole turned into paradise and people were coming out of there. And I'm just going to say I came out of there and my wife and kids, my dogs are dead, my house is burned down, my whole life is totally gone. The area's been blackened. And what excuse does Humboldt County have for allowing a commercial development out there other than a piece of paper saying that the applicant is aware that there are no services? Nobody else is notified of that. This is a lawyer's dream. So when you folks, make your decisions regarding these things, just pretend that this is in your backyard. Just pretend that this is ongoing. And everybody pretty well realizes 60 to 70% of these permitted product of the cannabis are going into the black market now. If you're not understanding that, then get real. I'm going to be attending these meetings. I will be pulling all the cannabis permits off here. I have angst with all of them, even the ones that are tabled. I'd like to speak on it this time. So we're going to have a meeting here. I'm not going to pull off the last two items, but just so you know, I will be raising my hand to pull off all the other agenda items. Thank you for my opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Kent. Anybody else that would like to speak in public comment? Seeing no others, I'll give it just a second here. I will now close public comment and we will move on to the consent agenda. And as usual, we'll go through the consent agenda and see if anything is to be pulled by public or by the commission. So the first item on the Mattole River Farm is the Mattole River Farms LLC in the Whitethorn area. Does anybody wish to have this pulled? Yeah, so I have an attendee's hand up and that's Kent. So we will pull that item. We'll go on to item number 2, Mad River Horticulture LLC, conditional use permit and special permit in the Densmore Mad River area. I see a few hands up. So we will pull that one and move on to item number 3. Mamba Humboldt Logistics LLC, conditional use permit and special permit, the Densmore area. And we have a hand up, so it's pulled. The next one, Ancient Truth Incorporated conditional use permit is going to be continued, so we'll come back to that and deal with that separate. Number 5 is the Bembo Valley Farms conditional use permit and special permit in the Bembo area.
Take it off, guys.
Is there anybody? I see we have one hand up, so that'll be pulled. And that'll take us to number 6, Green Crows LLC conditional use permit in the Bembo area. Is there anybody who wishes to have this one pulled? I see a hand up, so pull that. Brings us to number 7, which is the Judy Davy parcel map subdivision and special permit in the McKinleyville area. Anybody who wish to have this one pulled? Seeing none, we will leave that on consent.
Oh, did I see a hand go up?
I was writing a note. I didn't see anything. Once again, on the Judy Davis parcel map subdivision, is there anybody who would like this pulled? I'm seeing none. So
Okay.
I'm going to leave it on consent. Number 8 on consent is MCS Habitat Restoration and Public Access in the McKinleyville area. Is there anybody who wishes to have this item pulled? Seeing none, we will leave it on consent. And that concludes all the items that are on consent. So we have 2 items, the way I see it, that are on consent. And I would ask if anybody would like to make a motion to approve those 2 items.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move approval of items 7 and 8 on the consent agenda.
Brian?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So with that, seeing none, I will ask for the question then.
Do you know if Noah's in now? Did Noah make it in?
He was up there. I don't see him now.
Noah's in.
Okay, I'll call him. Okay, Commissioner Bongio,
Yes.
Commissioner Pellegrini. Commissioner Livy.
He said he's having trouble here.
Noah?
Yeah, hi, I'm just back in, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Newman
Yes.
and Commissioner O'Neill.
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner McCaver.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. So now I'd like to go back to the consent and address the ones that we asked to be moved or continued. The first one was the Ancient Truth Incorporated conditional use permit, the Bridgeville area. And I would like a motion to continue this to the December 17th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we continue item E4 to the December 7th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
I'll second.
December 17th is what they asked it to go to.
December 17th, 2020, yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion second. Any discussion? I have an attendee that wants to. No, it's a different, no, it's a different number, but, oh, it is. Okay, so, okay, so with that, call for a roll call.
Thank you. Commissioner Bongio,
Yes.
Commissioner Pellegrini,
Yes.
Commissioner Liddy,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
and Commissioner McCaver.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. So with that, we will move to, correct me if I'm wrong, to item number 7, which is the Judy Davis parcel map subdivision and special permit. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I was thinking we had to approve those two. You're right. That was bad on my part. So we're going to go back and have a public hearing on the first one, which is the Matole River Family Farms. So take a staff report on this, please.
Great. Good evening, commissioners.
I got that wrong. There was no
Science
family.
planner. And if I may share my screen, please, for the presentation.
Please do.
There we are. This is an application for a conditional use permit for a total of 21,800 square feet, of which 17,000 is outdoor and 4,800 is mixed light. Staff is recommending approval for 11,400 square feet because the evidence for existing cultivation only supports 6,600 square feet of outdoor. Through the remainder of the discussion, when discussing square footage, I will be referring to the request for 17,000 of outdoor, as there's no disagreement around the mixed light greenhouse. The project was continued from the October 15th Planning Commission meeting to allow the applicant and agent time to meet with neighbors, which they did on October 26th. Also on October 29th, the applicant's agent submitted a package summarizing their case for existing cultivation and requesting that the planning department support a revised proposal for 10,000 square feet of outdoor. However, no new substantial evidence was permitted to change the department's recommendation. The project is conditioned on providing a revised site plan and operations plan based on the outcome of tonight's meeting. The project is located near Whitethorn Construction on Huckleberry Lane. The southernmost portion of the parcel borders the Matole River. The irrigation water source is a 1 million gallon off-stream rainwater catchment pond constructed in 1999 for agricultural use in an orchard. The applicant has an appropriative water right for diversion from the Matole River. However, the applicant's operations plan, as well as the conditions of approval, state clearly that water from the diversion cannot be used for cannabis irrigation and would be used for domestic purposes only. Public comments were received expressing concern about the size of the operation, potential impacts of fertilizers to the wells that provide drinking water to residents on adjacent downside properties, and contesting the evidence of existing cultivation. Staff analyzed 12 projects in a 1.5 mile radius of the city. On the average farm size is 7,000 square feet. Farms are 10,000 square feet. The applicant's proposal had been to construct 5 3,400 square foot greenhouses to house the consolidated outdoor cultivation. As stated above, the applicant has stated they would be willing to grow full sun outdoor. In response to the neighbors' concerns about algae growth at their wells resulting from agricultural fertilizer use, the applicant does use drip irrigation to water at agronomic rates. After harvest, straw is applied to prevent erosion or sediment delivery. The applicant is enrolled with the State Water Board and has prepared site management plan. To address concerns of groundwater infiltration, a condition of approval, number 3 requires the applicant to provide a groundwater testing and containment plan that would be used to provide annual monitoring data. The plan would need to obtain water samples for testing from a neighboring well in an area of the Atoll downstream from the subject parcel. A comment was also raised about the impact of stream flow and groundwater recharge from the collection of rainwater in the pond. The pond is about 0.4 acres, or about 1.5% of the total 25-acre parcel size. And the pond was constructed with a grading permit in 1999 and therefore constitutes a baseline environmental condition that the current project does not change. I'll now move into a discussion of the existing cultivation on the parcel. A comprehensive packet of the available evidence is included in the staff report as attachment 6. The issue is the applicant's claim that approximately 10,000 square feet of outdoor cultivation occurred in between the rows of a quince orchard, which is pictured here in this photo taken in 2013. The quince orchard was removed in December of 2017, and this is a view of the parcel taken in October of 2020. You can see the cultivation is now consolidated in the field. Pictured is the full 17,000 square feet for which an interim permit was issued based on the erroneous inclusion of the orchard in the county's cultivation area verification. It's also important to note that although the parcel would otherwise qualify for new cultivation under the commercial cannabis land use ordinance, the property is located in the refuge watershed of the headwaters of the Atoll River. The parcel is therefore subject to the moratorium on new cultivation. Based on a review of aerial imagery, staff is recommending approval for 6,600 square feet of outdoor cultivation and 4,800 square feet of mixed light, which represents a reduction of 10,400 square feet from the applicant's request. In this September 2015 image, you can see the cultivation area below the solar panels and in the area surrounding the greenhouse. Staff closely reviewed the available evidence and could not verify the cannabis cultivation occurred in the orchard. The previous landowners who filed the application have attested to growing between 200 to 600 plants in the orchard. Supplemental information items provided to the Commission today include statements from 2 guests of the previous owners, attesting to seeing hundreds of plants growing in the orchard, and another statement by the previous owner, Karen Ruth, that hundreds of cannabis plants were grown in the orchard and hidden from the view of neighbors. There are letters from 3 landowners directly across the street who state that they never observed cannabis growing in the orchard. That concludes my staff report, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff from the commission?
Yeah, I do. This
Go
is
ahead,
Noah. Hi, Stephen. The last point that you made, that staff is unable to verify the claim about the existence of cannabis in the orchard. So is that to say that the calculation that you are allotting as existing does not include any square footage from the orchard area, just from those other highlighted areas, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, just wanted to be clear on that. Thank you.
Any other commissioners have questions? Seeing none, I will now open this up for public comment on this issue. Do we have any public? Oh, there we go. Go ahead, public 7454.
Thank you for my opportunity to speak. This staff report is just about impossible to understand as far as I'm concerned. We're talking about existing outdoor cultivation. As far as I can tell, it's based upon growing between rows, but now you say it's not based upon what was in the orchard. Of course, what was in the orchard was not indoor, so that wasn't existing something cultivated. So it's just really hard to. So we're proposing to go to greenhouses. It says reorganize. The claim to the occurred between orchard and roads would be reorganized into 5 proposed 3-4, and then we have complete different recommendations coming below. I did wish to make a comment on this 1 million gallon off-stream catchment pond. In the Odessa project, it was mentioned that there was all kinds of remediation to allow that to even exist in that thing because of the fear of bullfrogs being in there. The picture here does not show any kind of remediation. But has that been assessed by staff? I mean, kind of like to see everything be treated the same. It says it will be done in existing agricultural building as far as the trimming and drying. Power is provided by PG and solar panels. I would like to know the ratio of those. Is PG&E that's supposed to be the carbon neutral or whatever going on? What's the ratio of solar panels? We saw them in there, obviously, in the picture. But I was wondering if CDFW has had any input on this. It is in the Mattole River area, and it should have come under a new permit, especially with the lack of proof. You'd think the neighbors would have had the smell at least, and they would have said, hey, maybe there's something over there. But I just can't see how this can go forward under the 01. It actually should be under 02, and then it shouldn't be permitted, according to what I understood staff to just say. So this just befuddles me that a project of this nature would even be brought forward to you people. That's an awful large propagation nursery for this size of grow. You've got a 2,172 square foot nursery in the report, and yet you've whittled this down to 10,000 square foot. So your nursery is what, close to 20%? And are they going to grow indoor in there? What's going on with all that stuff? So I really don't think you have the information to go ahead and make the findings to approve this permit. Thank you for my opportunity to speak.
Excuse me. Any other public that would like to speak on this issue? Seeing none, I will bring this back to the commission for deliberation.
I'd like
Go ahead,
to
Ronnie.
make a motion. Okay, I'd like to move that. I'm sorry.
Yes, please go ahead.
Oh, okay, sorry. The Zoom thing's still hard to get used to. Okay, I'll move that we find that the commission has considered the addendum to the mitigated negative declaration adopted for the commercial medical marijuana land use ordinance pursuant to section 15164 of the California CEQA guidelines, make all the required findings for approval of the conditional use permit for 6,600 square feet of outdoor cultivation and 4,800 square feet of mixed light cultivation based on evidence in the staff report, and adopt the resolution approving the proposed Mattole River Farms LLC project subject to the recommended conditions.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second. This is Brian.
Okay, Brian. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion in the second? Seeing none, I will ask Suzanne for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Bongio.
Yes.
Commissioner Pellegrini.
Yes.
Commissioner Levy.
Yes.
Commissioner Newman.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Yes.
Commissioner McCaver.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries unanimous, and we will move on to item number 2, which is the Mad River Horticulture LLC conditional use permit and special permit in the Densmore Mad River area. And I would ask for a staff report, please.
Thank you. May I share my screen?
Yes.
Thank you.
It just changed.
Can everyone see that?
Yes, thank you.
So good evening, commissioners. My name is Portia Saucedo. I'm the assigned planner for Mad River Horticulture LLC. This project is located in the Dinsmore Mad River area on both sides of the Mad River Road, approximately 6.5 miles northwest of intersection State Highway 36 and County Line Creek Road on a 40-acre parcel. The proposed project has a land use designation of residential agricultural with an airport compatibility zone within one, and the site is zoned forestry recreation, and the parcel has a designation of high fire severity. This project is for a conditional use permit for 29,350 square feet of existing commercial cannabis cultivation, of which 24,000 square feet is outdoor and 5,350 square feet is mixed light. I'd like to refer now to the supplemental that was submitted to the commission. The project initially included an amount of 29,350 square feet, and all initial site plans sent to referral agencies were this amount. The county confirmed more than this amount of pre-existing cultivation. However, the revised site plan submitted by the applicant's agent in 2019 utilized for the completion of the staff report, identified only 27,825 square feet. So there's a difference of 1,525 square feet, or roughly a 5.4% difference. And so we've updated that to the current 29,350 square feet. And there's also an updated site plan. There's also a special permit for a surface water diversion from the Mad River. Water is primarily sourced from a permitted well and secondarily from a surface water diversion. Processing will occur off-site at a licensed third-party facility or processing on-site at a later date by methods that meet all industry, county, state, and federal regulations. Here's an aerial view of the cultivation area. And I'd like you to refer now to the supplemental with the revised site plan. And this is an image of that. It shows where all the proposed cultivation sites are. Water tanks and access roads, etc. And it is a recommendation that the Commission find the project consistent with the mitigated negative declaration adopted for the CCM LUO and the CEQA guidelines, make all required findings for approval of the conditional use permit and special permit. Adopt the resolution approving Mad River Horticulture LLC. And I'm available for any questions.
Any questions of the commission for staff? Hands up. All right. Seeing none, I will open this up for public comment. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't see your hand up.
I'm trying to find and we're still on screen sharing here.
There we go.
So it's hard to find my hand to get up. I have a question for staff as to what has been the normal percentage of any variation of the approval or permits of going through there? What is the guidelines there? What have we been using?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So this is a variance of 5.4% more. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, through the chair, if I could take that, Portia, I understand, I think, what your question is, Commissioner Newman.
Go ahead, Cliff.
So this is, again, yeah, a difference in 5.4% from what was provided in the staff report to you and in the public notice. It is actually under the amount that we determined was pre-existing. It is also consistent with the amount, this 29,000, with the amount that they had applied for and that went through the initial part of the review process. Unfortunately, the applicant's agent made some changes to the site plan in 2019, which reduced the area by about 1,500 square feet. That's what we wrote the staff report on and moved forward on. We did hear from the applicant today, or I think maybe last night, that they noticed that there was a discrepancy there and they wanted to get that larger amount again approved. So one of the reasons for pointing out that 5.4% difference was that is under the amount that a minor deviation would be potentially allowed by county code. However, it is different than what was presented in the staff report and the public notice. And so we did want to bring that to your attention as something that is different than what was noticed and what we had presented to you. That was the applicant's request to provide this additional revised plot plan to you.
So what has been the acceptable deviation in the past?
Well, through the chair, I think the question, and this is something that we may want to ask with county council, is there an issue with noticing potentially approving something that's slightly different than what was in the public notice? And
so can I jump in to that? We should not approve more than what was in the public notice.
Does that answer your question, Mike? Thank you. Any other questions of staff?
Would it then be appropriate to continue the item so that it can be re-noticed to accurately reflect the amount that the applicant is now asking for?
That would be one option. We could do that. You could also take action on it tonight. Well, that would probably be the most expedient way to do it, yes.
Any other questions?
I'd like to hear from the applicant as to if that's acceptable to them, but that'd be my preferred way to go.
Hopefully they'll be in the attendees. I see a couple hands up, so we will go there in a second. Is there any other questions of staff before we open this up for public? Seeing none, I will now open up the public comment. And is Jesse Almas the applicant? Yes. Why don't we, I'm going to let him go first if he's the applicant, and he can answer that question that Brian brought up. Are you there, Jesse?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so we originally applied for the 29,500 square feet in 2015-16, I think 2016, and that was the full amount of the canopy to the best of our knowledge at the time, and it has not changed since then. We have not expanded or reduced any square footage on that farm in the past 4 years. And so the difference in square footage was just an error due to an omission on a site map that was created for me. It was the consultant that I was using had left the firm that had done the initial maps for me. And so through the process of updating subsequent versions of that, there was an omission. And so that roughly 1,500 square feet was left off. And I brought that to Portia's attention and she corrected that. I know it was last minute, but it was because it was on subsequent versions, I didn't catch it until late in the game. But we do have documentation to back up the assertion that all that square footage was there prior to these maps being created. Thank you.
This is Alan Bongio. Would you be okay with if this was moved to a future date so that the numbers could be right? That way the noticing and everything will be correct and we won't be voting on something that's less than what you want at this point. So
yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to move on to the next public commenter, which is public 7454. Go ahead, Kim.
Alan, I did want to bring a little comment here on a prior thing before getting into this topic. You took an action before, which was a continuance. You did not take public comment, and that's a violation of the Brown Act. I would ask you maybe to ask your counsel whether you should unwind that and take public comment on your continuance. We have the right to comment. Now, on this particular process, this is a critical watershed, and yet we're allowing a water diversion from the Mad River to be used for irrigation. Over a year ago, or about a year ago, I think the Water District asked the designation to be a critical watershed. My communication with your staff said that they didn't have the manpower to go ahead and deal with that because they were working with the McKinleyville Center plan. So just because you guys didn't take care of that, or somebody didn't take care of it, or just, it's kind of a little suspicious, kind of like we're putting all these permits through before we actually assess the cumulative effects on a critical watershed. So with this water diversion, you have storage of 21,000 gallons in water tanks. Projected use is 386.5. Circumstantial evidence would be, since you are taking a direct draw, a water diversion out of the Mad River, that well that would be pumping, either one, are either directly connected or hydrologically connected to the Mad River. And I really don't see any kind of a allowance here for specific metering or anything regarding this. And before you move forward, I think you should actually have reached out to, did you reach out to the Water District to get their input specifically? And now we get down to the generators. Here we're powered is provided by generators, period. It's not a backup. We're trying to move to solar. And so I wish that you would ask the applicant, when this is brought forward back at a continuance, are they willing to go ahead and convert away from diesel or gas or whatever kind of generator they have, unless it's a solar generator, to something that is more environmentally conscious and friendly. So these are the reasons I'm pulling off. And I'm pulling all these topics because I had 4 phone calls into your staff today, and not a single one of those were returned. We might have avoided these if some questions could have been answered, but that's why these are being pulled, because I can't get answers and because I don't have access to any of your addendums. How can the public make comments on an addendum unless you're putting them up as a screenshot page by page for us to read? It's totally inappropriate to move forward under COVID on anything related to addendums, and I object to you doing so on anything that the public had not have access to. Thank you for my opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Kent. Next caller, John Friedenbach. You have to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm John Friedenbach. I'm the general manager at the Humboldt Bay Municipal Water District. And my first comment is about the staff report says a secondary water source is a surface diversion with the 1600 agreement with CDFW. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife 1600 permit does not give the applicant a water right for direct diversion from the Mad River. My question is to staff, does the applicant have a small irrigation registration with the California State Water Board? If so, what is that registration number? That registration with the Water Board is what gives water rights for direct diversion from the Mad River. So our district's understanding that the water rights on the Mad River are fully appropriated and that there are no additional water rights available. So I question the validity of this application. On page 59 of the attachments, it states the input source number 2, which is direct diversion, the surface diversion during the month of April will withdraw 10,000 gallons. And it states in November, the applicant will withdraw 20,000 gallons. There is a forbearance period that prevents withdrawal of water from the Mad River between November 15th and April 1st. There's no details on the November withdrawal dates. However, since all of April is within the forbearance period, they are prohibited from withdrawing from the Mad River during April, as stated in their application. Additionally, the application on page 65 says that they're using chemicals and fertilizers. Because of the cyanobacteria that was confirmed in the Mad River this year, our district recommends organic cannabis farming and no additional fertilizers that could impact the water quality of the Mad River. Those are my comments.
Thank you, John. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and bring this back to the commission. And would the director like to address any of those issues that came up in that? I don't know if you didn't get my attention, but I just thought.
We can, although perhaps it'd be more expedient if it's the will of the commission to continue this, to bring answers back.
Okay. So I think that the applicant has said that he was willing to continue this, and it's the direction from staff. So with that, I would go ahead, Mike.
I would ask the applicant again if he wants to continue it or not.
He said he did.
I know he said he did, but that was before all the other input.
Okay, I will open public comment back up and let him, the applicant, speak to that. He put his hand back up. So go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, I'd just like to address a few of those things. I believe I'm not quite sure what John Friedenbach was looking at with the surface diversion in the month of April. The State Water Board forbearance times have changed over the course of this application being in. Originally, we submitted this paperwork, I think, in 2016-17 for surface diversion. And so during that time, there was, I think it was governed by a different, it was a regional water board rules rather than the state. And so there was different dates for our forbearance. We are abiding by the full forbearance period recommended by the state at this time. We just have to draw more from our well. So our well provides enough to to do the irrigation on the farm. But when we don't need to draw from the well, we take from the river so that it's to fill up our tanks quicker and in a shorter period of time. But and as far as the industrial pesticides go, we use mostly organic amendments in our there are times when we use other fertilizers, but I would like to get it approved tonight if possible, but if there's more issues that need to be settled, then that's the way it has to be.
Well, I guess that's in your camp as to what you want. If you want us to act on what the staff report is tonight, we can do that. If you would like it to come back with the correction that you made, then we need to continue it to another meeting. So it's your choice.
Let's just vote on it tonight then. That'd be great.
All right. Guess you had a feeling, Mike. So we will bring this back to close the public comment now and bring this back to the commission for deliberation. Does anybody have any questions, comments, want to make a motion?
I definitely think that we need the director to now address those items that he was going to bring back to the next meeting.
Yeah.
You ready to do that, Director?
Yes, in particular.
Ready to do that.
Well, go ahead, Director.
I'm going to defer to Cliff for some of the responses to Mr. Friedenbach.
Sure. Thank you, Director Ford. To the chair, the applicant does have a right from the State Water Resources Control Board to divert and use water from the Mad River. In the staff report, you'll see in page 48, it is included. The certificate number is H100460. And that does allow for up to 42,000 gallons per day, or the diversion rate specified in the current version of State Water Resources Cannabis Policy, whichever is more restrictive. Mr. Friedenbach is correct. The county ordinance actually does require forbearance and specifies a forbearance period, which can be amended under certain circumstances. Under the LSAA that was issued to the applicant by CDFW, it does allow for a slightly revised forbearance period and does require a water management plan to be submitted every year that shows how they will ensure that they're meeting the terms of the CDFW's LSAA. One other thing you'll notice in the staff report, and I am trying to find it, but there is a copy of the well log, which on our review, we do believe demonstrates that it's not diverting from the Mad River. That well log is on page 80 of the staff report, I believe. You'll see the well is approximately 220 feet deep. It is blanked to 80 feet, so it's not drawing any water from within the first 80 feet down. The surface that it's drawing from is listed as hard shale, and then blue-green sandstone and soft shale. So, again, the requirement of the ordinance is that it's not a diversion from a surface water feature. And we believe that the depth of the well and the surface that it's drawing from indicates that it's probably not diverting from that river. So I think hopefully that addresses those questions that Mr. Friedenbach had, but I'd be happy to try to expand on those if necessary.
Thank you, Cliff.
Just add on to what Cliff has said relative to whether or not the Mad River watershed is designated as a critical watershed. There is a process that's spelled out in the general plan to identify critical watersheds. That request has been made by the Humboldt Water District. We have not processed that and taken that forward yet. It is in our work program, our list of things to do, but it is not currently designated as a critical watershed. The other thing to consider about this is that when the we are monitoring and watching the cumulative impacts and the number of projects that are being approved within the watersheds. There is a cap on the number of projects and the number of amount of acreage that can be approved within the watershed. And we're somewhere around half of that right now.
That it, Director?
That's it.
Thank you. Melanie, I think you had a question when we went to the director. So would you like to comment?
I was just going to point out that the permit was listed in the materials we were given.
Okay, thank you. Any other, who's got their hand up? Okay, Brian Mitchell, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to bring up the topic of the generators. I think we've had some good and productive discussions and compromises with regards to that. So I wanted the staff to detail the number of generators that are planned to be used for the project for the public and the commission.
Through the chair, I can answer that question. According to the applicant, there will be one Kubota generator, 10 kilowatt, and it's going to be contained within a noise dampening structure.
Then in that case, I think it'd be appropriate when we get to the motion making phase to discuss a phase out plan and talk about requiring solar generators sometime as that generator has to be replaced.
Okay, Mike Newman, you had your hand up?
So I just had a question regarding the comments about the fertilizer use and going into the watershed.
So that the use of fertilizers and water quality protection is covered by the requirements of the regional board. And when an applicant talks about using water at aghronic rates, what that's really referring to is using water such that there's not water running off the ground and washing fertilizers, washing chemicals out into the surface, out that would be washed into the watersheds. So there's really the protection of needing to comply with the Regional Water Quality Control Board order, but also the realistic need to minimize the water use and so not wash fertilizers, not wash chemicals out into the surface.
Thank you, Director. Are there any other questions? Anybody care to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd like to move that we find that the commission has considered the addendum to the adopted mitigative negative declaration to the CMMLUO, make all the required findings for approval of the conditional use permit and special permit based on the evidence in the staff report, and adopt the resolution approving the proposed Mad River Horticulture LLC project subject to the recommended conditions at the number of square feet included in the notices, as well as adding one additional requirement that by the growing season 2025, that the generator that will be used will be replaced by a solar generator.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, and I have some discussion. Mike, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, and there was another recommended requirement, which was the water management plan that was recommended by staff. Cliff?
Yes, thanks. Through the chair, Commissioner Newman, what I was referring to is the lake or streambed alteration agreement that CDFW has issued actually requires a water management plan to be submitted. We could also require that be submitted to the county. That's at the commission's discretion.
I would move that we add that in there as well.
So
That's acceptable to the motion maker.
How about the second?
I'm fine with that also.
Okay. Any other discussion? Should we say the motion? We added 3 things there at the end, or at least address the 3 issues that need to be added to the motion.
Right. We could. The way I understand it is that there are 2 things to be added. There is the motion as written by staff. Then there is the requirement that basically within 5 years, the existing generator be replaced by a solar generator by the growing season of 2025. And that the water management plan also the condition be modified to include that as reportable to the planning and building department.
So I wanted to restate it so everybody was clear on it. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? If not, I will call for the question.
Commissioner Bongio?
Yes.
Commissioner Pellegrini?
Yes.
Commissioner Levy?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill?
No.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner McCaver?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries with 1 dissent vote. So it's right about 7. Let's see if we can get 1 more in, then we'll take a break. So we're going to go on to item number 3 that was pulled. It's Mamba Humboldt Logistics LLC conditional use permit and special permit in the Densmore area. Take a staff report.
Hello, hi everyone. Can I share my screen?
Please.
1 second. Having some trouble, just 1 second. Let's see. All right, looks like I got it. All right, everyone, my name is Elizabeth Moreno. I'm the assigned planner for Mamba Humboldt Logistics LLC. The applicant
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Planning Commission meeting. We will now move on to item number 6 from the consent agenda that was pulled. Oops. I thought it was 5. There was 6. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. Item number 5, thank you, Director. Bembo Valley Farms conditional use permit and special permit in the Bembo area. And I will take a staff report, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Megan Ryan, and I'm the assigned planner for the Benbow Valley Farms conditional use permit and special permit project. The project is a conditional use permit for 36,360 square feet of outdoor cultivation occurring in 2 cultivation areas, and there will be 2 harvests annually. The project includes a special permit for development within the streamside management area for an on-stream pond historically used for cultivation. Processing will occur on-site within an existing 3,600 square foot structure. And the project also includes a change of use for a cabin that'll be used as an office. Power is provided by generators and solar panels. According to the operations plan, solar is used to run the well pumps and fans. There are 2 generators.
Chairman.
Yes.
Can you ask her to make it full screen?
Can you please make it full screen?
Yeah, sorry, I just jumped right in there, didn't I? There you go. Thank you. There are 2 generators that will provide power for fans, propagation lighting, processing, and the structures. The conditions of approval require the generators to be contained. The access route to the subject parcel is via Reed Mountain Road from Benbow Drive, approximately 3.40 miles, as shown here on this slide. Here's an aerial view of the site from October 2020, showing the 2 cultivation areas. The site plan included in your staff report shows the detail of the location of the greenhouses and processing structures. On the left is area A, and on the right is area B. The annual water use is 417,550 gallons. It's approximately 5.7 gallons per square foot. Groundwater well provides water for irrigation. There are no mapped special status species per the CNDDB. Marbled murrelet habitat is 2.05 miles to the west, and there's an NSO activity center that was mapped approximately 1.53 miles to the southeast. Noise and light attenuation measures have been are conditions of approval for the project. Included in attachment 4 of the staff report is a biological assessment that indicates the property does not contain suitable nesting or roosting habitat. There are no streamside management areas on the subject parcel per the Humboldt County Web GIS. However, the WRPP did note there was an unnamed Class 2 and an unnamed Class 3 water courses that are on the parcel. All development is located out of the SMAs, and 2 culvert replacements are recommended by the WRPP. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
So, any questions of staff? Commission? Seeing none, I will open this up to the public and get some public comment. First caller is Ken. Go ahead.
Okay, Ken Sawatsky again. I have some serious questions about the math here in the report that says the applicant is proposing to reorganize 25,136 square foot of full sun outdoor into greenhouses. So this isn't an existing outdoor, it's a conversion of an outdoor. And why would this not come under 2.0 rather than 1.0? It's a new permit, it's a different use. That you have a really weird ratio here. 2 cultivation areas totaling will be used for propagation. 11,470 feet will be used for propagation. That's an extreme amount of propagation compared to actual production in 25,136 square feet. So maybe that term isn't quite right for what they're using it for there. That doesn't make any sense to me. They have 65,000 in hard-sided tanks. They're using the processing is proposed on site with one structure totaling 3,600 square feet. I don't remember anything that anywhere near that particular size, but I guess that doesn't make any sense. That size of thing, unless they're doing processing for someone offsite, or they're only using part of it. Especially with 5 employees during peak, using 3,600 square feet. Power is provided by generators and solar panels. We did have a little bit of what that was. Is there a phasing out of the generator to fully solar panel? Again, I would ask that possibly one of you would ask the applicant what the time frame might be for phasing that out, if applicable. And so those are we have some ponds on there, which are kind of, in my area, they're not being decommissioned, and they were used for growing. I don't know. I guess CDFW must have made mention. They made mention on the Odessa project regarding decommissioning and proper usage of the ponds and things that are being converted from a prior use to a different use. So those are my concerns on this particular project. I think we only have one more to go, and then after that, and then we can all go home.
Thank you, Kent. Any other public that would like to speak? Seeing none, how about the applicant? Is the applicant out there, and would they care to speak? Go ahead, David.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. Yes, so basically, I did make the county aware about a month ago that there was a discrepancy in the total square footage of propagation compared to what we were actually proposing. And the 11,000 square feet was above and beyond what we were proposing. I can't remember what the exact number was now. I think Meg should have that. I provided that to her, but it was, I believe it was just under 15% of the total square footage that is occurring out there. Okay. And as far as the change of use, the cultivation, the outdoor cultivation will be placed into greenhouses, but there will be no lights. In essence, it's going to be an outdoor cultivation facility. And as far as the generators, there is no plan to phase out the generators at some time, hopefully. PG&E could get out there. There was no plans for doing so. All the fans for all the greenhouses, those are all solar out on site, and the generators that will be out on site will primarily be for the buildings, an office building and the processing drying building. And the processing drying building will have also in it an ADA bathroom, a kitchen, break room, as well as a processing area that does take up additional square footage that's going to, take the usable space for that structure down to a reasonable square footage for doing that processing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicants while we have them there? Go ahead, Peggy. No volume, Peggy, you're muted.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I can assure you that PG&E is not going out there. It's cost over $1 million a mile for them to put in PG&E, and they're not doing that unless you're planning on paying for it. So I think that the requirement that you do have a conversion away from the generators should be a part of the condition.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, seeing none, I will close the public comment period and bring this back to the commission. My screen just went funny. What's going on?
Mr. Chairman, this is Brian. I just wanted to say I support Commissioner O'Neill's comments with regards to the generators and think that a 5-year period to make that investment would be reasonable.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to double check. I meant to ask staff about the propagation square footage after the discussion here. With the applicant stating what he did, instead of 11,475, what should it be?
2,700 square feet in one greenhouse. So I do have record of having that discussion and didn't capture it, but we can make that correction.
Okay, good.
Any other questions? So anybody care to make a motion or more discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we find that the Planning Commission has considered the addendum to the mitigated negative declaration adopted for the commercial medical marijuana land use ordinance, make all the required findings for approval of the conditional use permit for 13,531 square feet of mixed light and 3,518 square foot full sun in outdoor commercial cannabis cultivation based on the evidence in the staff report, and adopt the resolution approving the proposed Ancient Truce Incorporated conditional use permit subject to the recommended conditions, including the correction that was just noted by staff, and including the additional requirement that within 5 years, or I guess the 5th growing season, as long as PG&E has not, in fact, gone out to the area, which we don't think it will, that the applicant must convert its generators to solar-powered generators.
We have a motion.
I believe, Brian, you were making that on the one that tabled or put off.
Yeah.
That was, not this Benbow Valley Farms.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had the wrong agenda page open. Let me do that again.
It's good to know you're human, Brian.
Like to move that we find the Planning Commissioner has considered the addendum to the adopted mitigative negative declaration for the commercial medical land use ordinance as described by section 15164 of the state CEQA guidelines, make all the required findings for approval of the conditional use permit and special permit based on the evidence in the staff report, and approve the proposed Benbow Valley Farms project subject to the recommended conditions as modified by the corrections noted by staff, as well as the additional requirement regarding the solar generators within the 5th growing season.
I'll be happy to second that.
The motion is second. Any discussion?
Is it possible to just to note that it is 2,700 square feet on the propagation in that motion?
He actually did include that.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
I want it just out there.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm happy to have that included explicitly as opposed to implicitly.
Thank you.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, I will ask Suzanne to ask the question.
Thank you. Commissioner Bongio,
Yes.
Commissioner Pellegrini,
Yes.
Commissioner Livy,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner McCaver.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries. So, thank you everyone on that one. And the next one we will move to is, oh wait, that one was number 6, Green Crows LLC conditional use permit in the Bembo area. I'll ask for a staff report, please.
Just a second here. Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Megan Ryan, the sign planner for the Green Crows LLC conditional use permit. The proposed project is a conditional use permit for 14,814 square feet of cultivation, consisting of 11,314 square feet of outdoor and 3,500 square feet of mixed light. The cultivation will occur in 2 cultivation areas. There'll be there will be 2 harvests annually. Processing will occur on site within a proposed 800 square foot processing facility. The applicant is also proposing 2 sheds for drying and storage. There will be a total of 4 employees during peak operations. Power is provided by solar panels, and generators are for backup use or emergency use only. The project is located off Fish Canyon Road, approximately 2 miles from its intersection with Benbow Drive, as shown here on this slide. On this aerial, this is an aerial from October 2020. There's currently no cultivation occurring at the site. There is what the applicant refers to as the lower flat and the upper flat. The site plan, here's an overview of development on the parcel, the site plan that was included in your staff report. Here's the kind of zoomed in version of the upper flat and the lower flat. The brown areas show the historic outdoor cultivation that will be reorganized into raised beds within the same disturbed area. The greenhouses are shown in green and water tanks are in purple. In the lower flat, there are 3 water bladders that will be replaced within 2 years as required by the conditions of approval. Annual water use is 188,500 gallons, approximately 6.34 gallons per square foot. Water is provided by rain catchment. There is 274,500 gallons of water storage. There are no mapped special status species on the CNDDB. Marbled murrelet habitat is located 1.96 miles to the southwest, and there is an NSO activity center located 1.27 miles to the southeast. Noise and light attenuation measures are included in the conditions of approval. The only artificial lighting will be in the propagation greenhouse, and the noise at 50 decibels at 100 feet applies to fans where fans or dehumidifiers might be used, as this is for outdoor. There's a class 2 streamside management area, Fish Creek, located on the subject parcel, and all development is located outside of the required setbacks of Fish Creek. So that concludes my presentation for this evening, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Not seeing any. With that, I will then open this up for the public. And looks like we have one hand up. Mr. Swaski, go ahead.
So I didn't really.
Just lost you, Kent. You're unmute yourself. Oh, there you go.
I've unmuted myself 3 times. Maybe it'll take this time. Okay.
We can hear you now.
Yeah, you can hear me now. So, first question, is somebody spray painting crows green? I guess that's not relevant to this, but I did have a comment on this staff report, and it's contradicting what was just mentioned. My question was, why? Because your staff report says cultivation activities extended from April to October, there will be 1 harvest annually. And I think we just got told there were 2 harvests. And my main question was, why would you need mixed light for only 1 harvest? So I really wish we had consistency in these staff reports. Maybe I'm misreading it, but those little questions are the ones that caused me to pull these off. Strongly applaud that they're only using generators for backup only. Everything else seems to be in line. Seems to be a permit that's going to have minimal impact compared to some of your other ones. But again, you might wish to ask staff if it's actually going to be 1 harvest annually, or if there's actually going to be 2. And you know, if there's any chance for these applicants, especially if there's only a small portion of this, to be done with the addition. Part of my problem is these hoop houses and all the plastic and where that stuff ends up, as far as it's not recyclable. Even with just strictly depthing, those depthing materials are extremely toxic, sun resistant, and where do they go? So I just would always recommend to anybody who's listening out there that those of us who do feel the environment's important can understand why we have a real problem with plastic straws, and yet we're putting tons of even more toxic stuff out into our environment, and it's very toxic to make these things. So that's just my comment on this project. Thank you for my opportunity to speak. This will be obviously my last comment. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Kent. Appreciate it. Okay. Would staff like to comment on the question that Mr. Swatsky brought up?
Regarding the cultivation cycles?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the operations plan right now. It does say 1 cultivation cycle. So that could have been an error on my hasty presentation putting together today. The agent and the applicant for this project are here. Also, if that's incorrect, but the operations plan does say 1 cultivation or 1 harvest annually.
All right. Thank you. So any question? Oh, okay. So I will let Mika, if you're available to talk. You there, Mika? You
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. There will be 2 cultivation cycles proposed for this project. I am sorry about that error. I did not produce the plan, but I should have caught that. But 2 is the number of cycles proposed. Thank you very much.
So now I'll bring it back to the commission to have discussion on that. That's go ahead, Mike.
So that brings me to that question there for staff about 2 cycles versus 1.
Director, you want to take that one?
I'm going to ask a question of Ms. Ryan. Right. So when we evaluated this, did we evaluate 1 or 2 cultivation cycles? In terms of the water use, looks like it's probably 2.
Yes, and I'm just checking right now. In the executive summary, it does discuss that reorganization of historically full sun cultivation area in the greenhouses will allow for 2 cultivation cycles, but the number of growing days will stay the same.
Well,
so I think it was considered at the time the staff report was written.
So there seems to be this growing idea that when it comes to 1 full sun outdoor cycle versus 2 cycles, that 1 full sun outdoor typically produces larger plants, uses more water per plant. When you get into 2 cycles, you don't grow the same size plant, you grow plants that are much smaller, and the time frame in which you can grow them is about the same because that's the growing season. And so overall, 1 to 2 cycles does not seem to be, at least in what we're seeing, to be a distinct difference, especially when you're going from full sun outdoor, which is producing fairly large plants, to plants grown in a greenhouse, which are much smaller and won't use as much water. I think that the difference between 1 and 2 cycles in this particular case is not significant enough to need to rethink the analysis that has been done. And I think the commission can approve this tonight with the analysis that's been provided to you.
Are these being grown in actual greenhouses, or are these being grown in hoop houses? And will there be supplemental light used in any of the operations?
No, there will not be any supplemental. Well, supplemental lighting is limited to the propagation greenhouse only, that is at 1,000 square feet. There are, according to the site plan, 4 greenhouses and otherwise they will be. So I saw 4 greenhouses on the site plan, otherwise raised beds on the other outdoor cultivation. So there may be hoops on that, but perhaps Mika could weigh in.
I will let Mika come back on if she is available. So, go ahead, Mika.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
So there will be 35, we are proposing 3,500 square feet with supplemental lighting. There is currently not. There is some cultivation, minimal amount is occurring in greenhouses. We are proposing that there will be mixed light cultivation in the future at some point, although currently there is none, and there most likely will not be for 2021. Let me know if there are any more questions, and I'm happy to answer them.
Any other questions while we have Mika here?
Does the operational plan cover how the light deprivation will be achieved, whether that's with tarps and such, and how we achieve full dark night skies for any supplemental lights that are used?
Can you answer that, Mika? Mika, are you there? Can you answer that question?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
As I said, I did not write the cultivation operations plan, and I just added a simple addendum to it discussing that there will potentially be proposed mixed light in the COP itself. It does not discuss how we will achieve that, but I can tell you that that will be achieved via pulling tarps over any supplemental lighting prior to darkness on all days when supplemental lighting is applied on all areas where it will be, including the propagation area.
Thank you, Mika. Mike, I see you have your hand up. The director just said to me to the side here that he suggests that we just continue this to the next meeting to get, to a date in the future to get things right on this one.
Yes.
But I want
Mike, 1 second, let the director speak and then I'll come to you.
Just asked that, given the fact that the cultivation operations plan obviously has been well reviewed by the applicant and seems to have some inconsistencies in it, I recommend that you continue it to allow the applicant to write a cultivation operations plan that reflects what they intend on doing, so we can evaluate that and bring back a complete report to the Planning Commission.
No, we just
Thank
asked
you.
it last minute. He just raised his mind.
Go ahead, Mike.
So I was going to ask about under the attachment one, number 18.
No,
Is that addressing part of that about the International Dark Sky Association lighting and that? Because it says, underline, no artificial lighting is authorized by this permit until the structures and greenhouses can be demonstrated to comply with this standard.
That is a standard condition that implements the provisions of the commercial marijuana, medical marijuana land use ordinance.
Okay. All right.
Peggy?
When you come back, maybe you can also, staff, talk just a little bit about that road report from Humboldt County Department of Public Works. They say it may or may not be able to handle it. Then there's a report from an engineer, and there's some pretty ugly pictures of culverts and all that. Maybe we could just have you report on that when you come back.
Any other comments or questions? So should we have a motion to bring this back at is a specific date or
date certain? Let's go to December 17th.
December 17th. Can I get a motion to continue this to the date of December 17th?
I'll make that motion to continue it to December 17th meeting.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, I will call for the question. Go ahead, Suzanne, please.
Commissioner Bongio,
Yes.
Commissioner Pellegrini,
Yes.
Commissioner Livy,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
and Commissioner McCaver.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. So with that, those next two are on consent. That brings us to item number 1 under section I, Rolling Meadow Ranch LLC conditional use permit in the Bloxford Myers Flat area. And we need to continue this one to a
Date uncertain.
Uncertain. So would anybody like to make a motion to continue this to a date uncertain?
So moved.
I'll second it.
And a second. Was that Brian that was the motion?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Brian. And so,
Noah second.
yeah, Noah was second. I'm sorry, Noah. I got you, but I wasn't sure who did the first. So any questions? Seeing none, I will call for the question. Suzanne?
Commissioner Bongio,
Yes.
Commissioner Pellegrini,
Yes.
Commissioner Levy,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner McCaver.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Next item is adjournment. Is there anything that we want to talk about before we move to that? Director, have any last comments?
I do not.
So,
Can I just ask that we go over the schedule for the next month or two to make sure that we all are aware with holidays and such when the meetings are and aren't going to be happening?
Did you handle that, Director?
Absolutely. Thank you. That's a very good question. So our next regularly scheduled meeting will be December 3rd. And then we'll meet again December 17th. And then the next meeting after that will not be until January 7th.
Sounds good. Any other questions of the director? Or Mike, did you have a question, or are you just taking your glasses off? All right. So with that, we will call this meeting adjourned. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, everybody, and we'll see you on the 3rd of December.
The end of December. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night.
Take care.
Good night, everybody.